All right, today we're diving into a book that promises to be a roadmap through the absolute chaos of crypto, a world of digital gold rushes and, well, devastating crashes. We're talking about The Crypto Trader by Glen Goodman. It's the question that's on pretty much everyone's mind. You see the headlines, you hear these crazy stories of overnight millionaires, and you feel that little pull, that what if. But then you also hear about the scams, the insane volatility, and the people who've lost everything. So, where do you even begin? Well, this book makes a pretty bold claim. It says there's a clear path through all that noise, a set of rules that can turn what feels like a wild gamble into a calculated strategy. So let's dig in and see if that claim actually holds up. So, to really understand the strategy in the book, you first kind of have to understand the guy who wrote it. Because his journey from a TV newsroom to a trading floor is really the key to his whole approach. So, who is Glen Goodman? Well, he's definitely not your typical Wall Street guru. He actually started out as a TV news reporter for the BBC and ITV, just trading on the side. Then, the 2008 financial crash happened. He made this now famous trade, turning a 3,000-pound bet against the market into 100,000 pounds. That success gave him the push to leave his news career in his 30s and just trade full-time. And now, he's a best-selling author who even contributes at the London School of Economics. Goodman is super clear about what this book is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. This is not some dense technical manual on blockchain. He basically argues you don't need to be a computer scientist to trade this stuff. Instead, think of it as a practical playbook filled with the actual strategies he uses, strategies he learned from years of experience and, of course, countless mistakes. Goodman just perfectly frames the crypto market with this term. It really is an untamed frontier. It's filled with immense opportunity, for sure, but it's also packed with danger. A place where fortunes can be made and lost in the blink of an eye. And in this Wild West, there are these two incredibly powerful forces just pulling everyone around. On one side, you've got pure, uncut greed, perfectly captured by that meme, When Lambo. The dream of getting rich, like tomorrow. And on the other side, you have its evil twin, FOMO, the fear of missing out. And that's what drives people to make totally irrational decisions, because they just can't stand the thought of being the only one not getting rich. So how does Goodman suggest we navigate this emotional battlefield? He argues it all comes down to a core strategy that is, well, deceptively simple. Okay, here it is. The entire strategy really boils down to two commandments. First, when a trade is working, when you're in profit, you let it run. Don't just snatch up a tiny profit because you're scared. Second, and this is the one most people get wrong, when a trade is losing money, you sell it fast. You don't hope it'll come back. You don't average down by buying more. You just get out. Protect your capital. And this is the absolute crucial point. Your main job as a trader isn't actually to make huge profits. It's to protect the money you have. See, by cutting your losses quickly, you make sure you always have money left to fight another day, to wait for those really big winning trades that you can let run. A few big losses can wipe you out of the game completely. What Goodman stresses over and over and over again is that this is not about predicting the future. Nobody can do that. Successful trading isn't about being right every single time. It's about having a system where your wins are bigger than your losses, and then having the discipline to actually stick to your rules, especially when it's emotionally really, really hard. Now, beyond the core strategy, a huge chunk of the book is actually dedicated to playing defense, to teaching you how to spot all the traps that are laid out there for new, eager traders. Goodman gives you this really clear checklist for spotting scams, and he uses the infamous BitConnect scheme as a truly chilling case study. He points to all the classic red flags, promises of impossibly high returns like 40% a month, a pyramid-style marketing scheme, a total lack of transparency about their tech or who's even in charge, and the big one, all the trading is controlled internally away from public exchanges. And here's the result. No surprise, right? The second the authorities started closing in, the BitConnect token just completely collapsed. It plunged from a peak of almost $500 all the way down to just 41 cents. A near total wipeout for anybody still holding on. But it's not just numbers on a chart. The book really drives home the real-world devastation. Look at this. This Reddit post tells the story of someone who lost $80,000, his family's entire life savings, all because a friend told him the risk was worth it. This is the reality of what Goodman is trying to help people avoid. A key strength of this book is just how accessible it is, and that comes straight from his background as a journalist. Goodman is fantastic at filtering out the noise. He makes these complex financial ideas really easy to understand, using a conversational tone that's just free of all that dense jargon that makes most trading books impossible for a newcomer to get through. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's try to weigh the book's high points against its potential limitations and get to a final verdict.
So on the strength side, it's absolutely fantastic for beginners. Its relentless focus on risk management is probably the single most valuable lesson a new trader can learn. The rules are clear, they're actionable, and it's all grounded in understanding and controlling your own emotions. Now for the weaknesses, an experienced trader might find the strategies a little basic. The whole system is based on trend following, and Goodman himself admits that trends fail a lot, which means you'll have a lot of small losses. And it's super important to understand, this is a book about trading, actively buying and selling, not long-term buy and hold investing.
Okay, so that brings us to the final and probably the most important question. Is this book right for you? Well, this book is absolutely ideal for the complete novice, the person who hears about Bitcoin and just has no idea where to even start. It's also perfect for any trader who knows they struggle with discipline. You know who you are, the ones who hold on to losers for way too long or sell their winners way too early. If you want a clear, almost mechanical plan to follow, this book delivers exactly that. You know, there's this one reader review that I think just sums it up perfectly. The point is really simple. The cost of this book is a tiny, tiny investment compared to the incredibly costly mistakes it could help you avoid once you're actually in the market. Which brings us right back to our final thought. The book literally positions itself as the single best first investment you can make before you even buy your first coin. So, is that just clever marketing? Or is it genuinely the most sensible advice for anyone looking to step into the wild west of crypto? That's something I'll leave for you to decide.